My name is Casey, Army vet. This is Penny. When I got out of the Army, went back to live with my parents and ended up moving out again because of another fight that we got into. I basically said, I don't need your help, and I moved out, and I've been out on the street ever since.
My first ex-husband, it was extremely violent to the point where I went through windows, walls, doors, chains, basically anything and everything that he could get his hands on. Then I ended up getting into meth really bad. He knew me while I was doing that, and there was one day I'd gone to go visit him, and he looked at me and he says, "You look straight up sick. You need to stop."
Well, I've been out on the street since August, I want to say, 2008. My lowest point came within the first month because the depression hit really, really hard. Some of us choose to be out here. Many of us don't. It's just situation, and you lose your job. You lose everything.
I'm Jeanette Berg.
I'm Terry Cleland.
Before I came homeless, I was taking care of an elderly man, which I was friends with for 15 years. He had cancer, and then he passed away on December 11th of 2009. His son had told me that it was time to go because he wanted to move back in home and live all by himself. After we got kicked out, we didn't know where to go. We've lived in tents and vacant houses. The toughest thing about living in a van is not having a bathroom or a way to take a shower or bath.
Sometimes people would knock at the door and we wouldn't answer.
Because there wasn't really enough room for us both in that little itty bitty bed. And we'd argue with each other who gets which side every night. And you couldn't stretch your legs out. It was miserable. I slept with my clothes on, my stocking cap and all, because it was that cold.
I'm Joe. I live out here in the woods. I kind of traveled around a little bit, and when I got pregnant with my daughter, I bought a house, and in between having children, I got into drugs and things like that. It was just a lot of bad choices, actually. We came out seeking someplace that we'd be able to go. We set up the tent. And then I started staying here full-time at the end of January. You don't know who to trust, actually. You don't want to show nobody your camp because they may raid your camp while you're gone. You don't know if a man's going to show up in the middle of the night. I've had 2 or 3 men one night that were circling my tent, and I know that they were men because I could hear them talking and stuff like that. And they were circling my tent, trying to figure out how to get me out, and they were, pulling on my tent and everything else. I've slept with knives. I've put a lock on the inside of my tent, locked myself in, because I figured they have to come through that tent to get me.
It takes a little bit of knowledge to live out here, or you will die. I have actually found people. You have to stay off the ground. You can't sleep on the floor of the tent because of the frost. You will end up with pneumonia. So a lot of people will take a pallet and put it in there. That's what I used to do, is put a pallet in my tent, and then I'd put padding over the top of it, and about 4 or 5 blankets, and then I'd sleep with my sleeping bag on top of that, and 2 or 3 more blankets on top of my sleeping bag. I always wore insulated underwear and insulated undershirt with a t-shirt and a flannel shirt on top of that, and 2 pairs of pants and 2 pairs of socks. And you still get cold. It just cold. Oh, it makes me shiver just even thinking about it. Well, I hope I never ever have to live like this again. It's bad, it's rough. I would not wish this on my worst enemy. Some of my lowest points out here was loneliness. You get lonely. If you're lucky, you got a book to read. Otherwise, you just sit there and your mind just rolls and rolls and rolls. You get depressed, and sometimes you get yourself thinking, I wish I could just go to sleep and not wake up.
Not exactly sure just how they did it, but I was in a spot and they just popped up one day and said, "Hey, how would you like an apartment?" And I said, "Huh?" The first night in my apartment, well, of course, there was that environmental shock. It was a nice shock. I'll admit I left the windows open for the first month or so.
When I got moved into the apartment, Joppa brought me a house full of furniture almost immediately.
When I first come out of the timber and I got home, it took some getting used to. I wasn't used to being able to turn the light on and off. It took some adjustment, but it was great. I don't think I could live out there again. I know I wouldn't make it through winter.
Well, then we finally got an opportunity to get this apartment through Joppa. And so we decided we're going to look at it. And it was a blizzardy day, and we were so happy that we got into that apartment. Oh, it was just wonderful, just to be in out of the cold.
So what has Joppa done for you guys?
Oh, God. Do we have a couple hours?
I said they'll get you blankets, sleeping bags, they'll get you cans of gas for your cooking stove, they'll get you a stove, they'll get you heaters.
Joppa brought me a real nice pair of winter boots. At the time, all I had was just their tennis shoes. It's really hard to say what all Joppa's done because, besides big things like that, they did little things like remembering birthdays and things like that.
Tents, tarps, clothing, food, flashlights, batteries, everyday essentials, hygiene, toiletries.
I'm telling you, some of the best times I've had out here just recently is everybody around the campfire and us making fried chicken, because Joppa brought down a heck of a lot of chicken.
When you've been living out there and you wake up with clothes all frozen every morning, that heater becomes the most valuable thing you've ever had. You wake up in the morning, you look at that heater and you just want to go over and hug it.
They bring food, they bring a lot of things. They bring company.
Oh, they're very friendly. They like to visit and come in, sit down, and they stay for a half hour or so, and they just enjoy my company, I guess.
I was sitting on myself in my own business, and Joppa started pounding on my door, and she says, "I got something for you." And I said, "What?" And she says, "Well, here's a laptop computer, so I can check my email." Imagine that, and check progress on eBay. Put it very simply, I'm becoming somebody again.
Well, it may sound a little strange, but of all the things that Joppa's done for me, the fact that they let me come and help, that really does mean a lot to me. Behind the curtain, I've had the opportunity to meet people I didn't know existed. There are actually people that care out there.